Hi, Wayne Highlands family. Yep, another email from Lori Sheldon, as you probably cringe. My goal has not been to inundate you, even though I believe that might be what has happened. My goal was to provide some support just as needed. This video talks about wrapping up the school year. Some of you might just stop the video now and think I can't even consider this right now, and that's fine. Going into the fourth quarter, though, I wanted you to have this content so you could look at it when you had time. It talks about how to back up the important stuff off of your computer. You've worked hard all year. You don't want to lose something because it's not backed up to the cloud. So it talks about how to clean up your desktop, downloads, and documents folder, as well as your photos. It also talks about how to take care of Google Classroom at the end of this school year. And it talks about what to do with your Zooms. So we knew going into this that we weren't going to be able to keep the Zooms beyond the school year, especially if they had student voice and video in them. So it talks about that. As you work through this process, should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day. Let's look at cleaning up your computer. We want to go to the Find Your Face, and we're going to want to make sure that our desktop, documents, and downloads folder are all taken care of. In other words, we've saved what we wanted and backed it up to Google Drive, and everything else we've gotten rid of. So let's take a look at this process. On this computer, I don't have a lot of things stored, but as you can see, I'm going into my Zoom folder. So I'm in Documents, Zoom, and this is a big space hog. So I'm getting rid of those, which most of us do regularly anyway. And I'm going to delete the trash or empty the trash when I'm done too. So I've checked my Documents folder and just to clean it out and see if there's anything I want to keep. And if there is something I wanted to keep, I want to move it to Google Drive. By going this way, I'm clicking Google Drive on my desktop and dragging something into a folder. So that's one way that I could back something up. So again, I just clicked on what used to be Google Drive file stream. It's just now called Google Drive. You can also access it from the Find Your Face. Google Drive is down below, and I made a new folder, and I could put something in a new folder. So File, New Folder, gave me a new folder when I was already in Google Drive. I personally don't like to organize that way, so I'll show you what I like to do. I find it easier to navigate Google Drive for organizational purposes by going to Chrome, Google Drive, and looking at it this way because I have more view options. So to make a new folder here, I could do New Folder. I'm going to give it a title. And click Create. What I like here is if I go to My Drive and use the drop-down arrow, all of my folders are listed here first alphabetically. And I can right-click on any folder too and change the color of it. I'll do that and I'll change just the certain folders for this year to a color. And I can drag and drop within that folder. So that's another way that I can make use of that. So to review, you want to take everything in your desktop, downloads, and documents folder and back them up to Google Drive. It's a good idea to go through your photos, delete things you don't want, and save things you do want to keep to the cloud. Frees up space on your computer. So I made a new folder on my desktop because I intend to take pictures I want to save out of my Photos app and drag them into that folder. So that's what I'm doing here. And let me just say there are several ways to back up photos. This is just one, and I've tried lots of different ways, so I'm sharing to you what I would be considering a best practice because I've had nightmares trying to find where my photos live on my computer. So this way, by doing File, New Folder, I have got it saved. So I'm opening Google Photos, going to Upload from my computer, navigating to that folder. I'm holding Shift on the first and the last to get all of them, and it's uploading them. I like Google Photos because then I can make an album. I can download these again if I want them, and I can share them. So I'm going to name this album, hit the check mark, and these are saved. I could also save them to Google Drive if I chose to, But notice what I'm doing. I'm getting rid of the pictures off of my desktop. I'm selecting them in Photos and deleting them here. And then going into Recently Deleted and deleting them again. The purpose of this is to save pictures for longevity and to clear up space on your computer. How do you close out Google Classroom for the school year? You've got lots of different options. Notice if I go to this particular class, Google Certification, I want to make sure I hand back any work that I think students will want access to in the future. When they hand work in, they transfer ownership to you. So you'll want to go to any assignments that you think it's important for them to have the work back. Click on the work and click on Return. So what this does is it gives them ownership back. So if you go through and go cleaning out your Google Drive and you've deleted something without giving them access to it, they lose access completely. They can't even ask for access back. Some of the work you've handed out, you probably don't need for them to have access to, so that's not a big deal. Also notice you can move a class, you can archive a class. This I would use probably in my elementaries if I don't know what I'm doing with Google Classroom next year. I could leave it sit in archive and still pull assignments from it. But this copy is kind of handy, especially for my middle and high school teachers. This takes the entire class, wipes out the rosters, wipes out the individual work, but leaves the assignments and attachments in place. The beautiful thing is it doesn't leave them assigned, it leaves them in a draft. So again, if you copy a class, it clears out to the students, it's a fresh copy, the work is there, but it sits in draft until you're ready to assign it. You'll notice it's creating a class. I do find that this process takes time. So depending on what we're looking to do with Google Classroom in the future, will determine what you do now. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Before we started the year, I urged you to create a folder in Google Drive called Zooms or Zoom recordings, because we're required to get rid of these at the end of the year. So if you did that, it's as easy as find the folder, right click, and you can delete it or remove it. Google Drive will delete within 30 days automatically. If you didn't do that, you can search for your Zoom recordings and delete them the same way. So right click and then remove. You will want to make sure that beyond this school year, we do not keep the Zoom recordings, especially if they had student voice in them. If you did screen recordings and screencasts of just you, this is not a concern. It's the ones with student voice and student videos that we need to make sure we clean out.